How you doing?
All right, man. How are you? You look good.
Ah, that's what he just said. I just buzzed it all off. I had a big goatee before.
Really?
It's all gray. You know what I'm talking about.
Really? I don't know what happens after a certain age. It
Yeah.
doesn't have any other color.
And it gets itchy as hell, and I just look like an old man, so I might as well just shave it off and try to
Yeah.
help
Try,
you
try to maintain as much youth as
as
you
I
can.
can. Yeah. And then I'm doing yard work, so my head's all burnt up.
Yeah, dude, I could tell.
It's crazy. And I'm so fat that I don't go shirtless anymore. So it's like all dark here, and I'm white as a ghost underneath.
That's
So
the dad bod, the old man bod.
I'm gonna get out of it soon.
All right.
I want to do a quick intro. I was going to do it before you logged on, but for those that don't know, this is my buddy Jason Arntz. Jason is the 19. This is crazy stuff here. The 1998 heavyweight USA champion, the 1998 overall national champion. Now, there's only a few names on that list that are overall national champions, which is crazy. I mean, how many are there? Like 30, 30, 30?
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
In the history of American bodybuilding, there's only that's an elite group to be in. The reason I'm bringing up the heavyweight stuff is Jason was later a 212 guy, but you started your career in the open. I wanted to ask you, what did you actually weigh when you won the heavyweight USA and nationals?
so the year before '97, I actually had won the light heavyweights
That's right.
at the USA that year,
Yeah.
and it was a struggle making weight. So in '98, they made the transition and introduced the super heavyweight class into all the NPC shows. So for me sucking down, I thought, hey, you know what? I might fare a better shot, going heavyweight. I was definitely one of the smaller heavyweights. I probably only weighed, like what we were competing at in the 202-pound class, 202, maybe 204, 203. But the 98 USA championships, when I won the heavyweights, I was probably a heavyweight. I was probably 203 pounds.
Wow. So there's a few reasons I wanted to bring that up. One was you were fucking round and huge at 204, 203.
Yeah.
Like, you certainly didn't look 203. You looked just as big as any of the 225-pound guys.
Thank you.
And later on in your career, you started sucking down. Now, you didn't stop growing from nationals to those. So you probably could have competed right at 210, 212, 214 even, and been at your best. And you sucked down to 202.
Right.
Now, the reason I wanted to say that is, do you think, I know your answer, your physique suffered to make 202?
Well, it got to the point where it was a struggle, especially in the early part of my pro career, because it was all open.
Right.
So at that point, that was the reign of the end of Dorian into the Ronnie years.
Right.
I'm being, I'm in a field with guys like Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler and Chris Comer and Marcus Rule, some of the biggest names at that time, in the sport. So everybody was trying to get bigger. We thought that was the look they were going for. But I always kind of wanted to emulate. I was a big fan of Lee Labrada. I was a big fan of Sean Ray. I liked that more of a streamlined, athletic build. And we're shorter guys, Jose. I'm only 5'5",
Yeah.
and you and I are close to the same height. So I thought, if I put too much on, it's going to distort my physique. But I was able to put on muscle and still maintain, a lower body weight. Just it's maturity. They call it old man muscle. The more years and the consistency you put into the training, it's just a denser, more better quality look, and you could acquire that. Yeah, and not really have to put on the heavy pounds and abuse some of the substances that we were all doing at the time to put all that excess weight on. But I always thought I looked better, more streamlined, and presenting a more of a classic physique look at that time in the early part of my pro career. But then, by the grace of God, they introduced the 202-pound class, which was a blessing. you know,
Yeah.
so I no longer had to worry about carrying this excess weight.
So my counterpart here, Nate Tello, is he's a competitive bodybuilder. Been doing the light heavyweight class. He's a bit taller than us. He's
Right.
around 5'8", and I've been just saying, you know what, screw the light heavies because it's such a nightmare getting down, and then his physique flattens out, and he's better at the 204, 205 spot, just like you were.
Right.
So this is a good thing for Nate to see, was that you were your absolute best as a heavyweight,
Yeah.
not sucking down to light heavyweight, even though you won.
Right. Yeah, I did well in both, but I was still, it was really only like maybe a 3 pound difference, you know,
Right.
but 3 pounds on our size frames is huge. You know,
Like 12 pounds.
pretty much. Yeah,
Right.
it's huge. So, but having that additional size to carry and maintaining a smaller, streamlined waist and no distension, it helped me advance as much as I did.
Yeah,
So-
that's exactly what I was thinking of as he was talking about that. Jose was my own case of. So last year I did 2 pro qualifiers, and Jose and I were on the fence of what we were going to do because I was about 210 a week out, and lean and hard and full, and you just don't know who's going to show up. We did one in Costa Rica, one in Bermuda, and we're like, well, by the time you pull water, I'm probably going to be like 204, so I might as well suck down a little bit more and make 198. And it was like weigh-ins the day before the show, not eating or drinking anything all day until weigh-ins were 6 p.m. and trying to get some food in after, and you just never come back. And that's what we were talking about. My next show, it makes sense to just go for heavies, come in full. My physique really suffers just like that. One question, you mentioned liking a more classic streamlined physique. That question actually comes from Justin Randall. I reached out to him last night, and he wanted to know what you think of the classic physique class or division, and if it was around when you were competing, would you have competed in that?
Okay, so idealistically, that was the physique I was always gunning for. Was that classic streamlined physique, like a Lee Labrada or Sean Ray? Where you look athletic, you can move, you're mobile, you could flow well on stage. You present what I thought at that time was a more intriguing and something that I thought was more sought after of an appearance. If they didn't have the 202, see, the 202-pound class was perfect for me because it was right at that weight for me. When it went to 212, that's where it was the end of my career anyway. That's where I made the transition. But if I didn't have an option to do the 202 and they opened up a classic physique division, I would have definitely entertained that idea. I think it's still, the guys are still as ripped as anybody else. They're in great shape. They have small waists, and that was something that I desired. That was something that to go after the mass monsters, that wasn't my look. I was trying to stay true to my physique and myself and what I wanted to look like and how I wanted to present myself. So, but I think classic physique is huge. I think it's relevant nowadays in the sport. I think they need it. I think it's come at a good time because if you look at the judging at the past few higher level shows, it looks like even in the Open and the Olympias, they're going for that more of a balanced, aesthetic look, which I think, sells more tickets. I think it got distorted for a while, after Ronnie and everybody's trying to outmatch him with size, but there was only one Ronnie, there was only one guy that could pull that off, and that was him. And until he retired, nobody was taking that spot. And at that time, Jay had gotten really big and put on the size, he put on to go after Ronnie. But Jay had a good, pleasing physique also, hoping not to get too distended or too distorted. But I thought he looked his best in 2001. I thought he actually should have won the Olympia that year. I was there. And he had more of a pleasing physique. So I do think classic is definitely relevant. And I would probably be a part of that if it was in my time.
So, Jay, you actually placed top 5 at the Toronto Pro in the Open.
Yeah.
How was that? Who was in that show?
Dude, that was a huge show. It was great. The winner was Pavel Jablonecki. Milos was second, and third, I believe, was who was third? But Eddie Robinson was there. Dennis Newman was there. Like all the big names, John Jean-Pierre Fuchs was there.
Yeah.
It was for me to be called out at my first pro show in the top 5. It was overwhelming. It was nice, and it kind of made me feel like, hey, I have a place here. I have some type of relevance, and it pushes you to help you further down the road in your career to go after things.
So you mentioned Jay's 2001 look. I agree with you. I think he should have won. I think that was one of his best looks. We had on our last podcast Chris Aceto, who obviously
that was hilarious.
Jay's coach. Yeah, it was one of my favorites. So speaking of Chris Aceto and coaching Jay, did you work with any prep coaches, or how did you learn this stuff?
Yeah, so I've always been a little bit of a loner. When I developed into the sport, things weren't around like they were nowadays. There weren't really gurus. There weren't coaches. If you wanted to learn something, you learn it through trial and error, and you learn. But I had an interest in health and fitness and the nutritional side and the diet side of things. So I kind of learned my own body, learned what works. I started working with other athletes to see what works with them. At one time, I did work with other guys. I worked with Chad Nichols for one show. I worked with Dorian for a show. But even when I was working with them, they had said to me, like, we can't really tell you to do anything you're not already doing. They just were more of a second eye to me, just to give me for me, it was always, I had issues the last couple of weeks when it came time to depleting and carving up. And I always felt like I never filled out properly because you always second guess yourself. So just having a different opinion to let you know, hey, dude, you're still holding your conditioning. You could fill out a little more. That's really how they aided me. But I learned it all myself. This is all, earned knowledge and acquired knowledge and trial and error through, 16, 17 years in a pro career and probably 7 or 8 in an amateur career. So, yeah, I did it all myself.
Right. So you said the nutritional side of things was big to you. So let's transition into what you're doing now. You are the CEO of I-Prevail supplements. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, back in my early amateur careers, they didn't make, look, supplements are supplements. If they could help you 5% in obtaining your goal or training for a championship physique or whatever sport you're training for, I'm going to take that 5%. I'm going to take that percentage and use it to my advantage. So I wanted to learn everything there was of what's going on during my body before I train, what's going on during training, what's going on post-training, how do I take the proper nutrients in, what ingredients are. So I started developing a background in the scientific side of sports supplements, as well as the nutritional side of calories, fats, carbohydrates, timing of nutrients. So I started putting together formulas early in my career that I thought would help advance me. I was always big on intra-workouts. I always thought there was a paramount importance to add that in. That's when your body is breaking itself down. That's when it starts fueling. And if you don't have an adequate supply of glycogen, which at any hard training day, you're going to burn 200 grams of glycogen. So once that glycogen storage is depleted, your body starts breaking down protein. So I thought it was essential to take in some glycogen, add some branch chains and essentials during my training to help me through the workouts and help me recover. But at that time, they didn't have the components that they had. So I used to go out and find different ingredients and make my own formulas and put things together. And it gave me the background, to where I am today. And I carried that knowledge all through my pro career, and I applied it. Everything I'm doing now, this is stuff I've done my whole career. Like even my amino acid profile in my amino acid formula, I scientifically redesigned the chain of essential amino acids, and I put in dominant form the more muscle building essentials with a higher milligram dose, so it would help you recover and repair better. I have that in my intra workout, my pre-workout, every ingredient I have serves an exact purpose. And that's stuff I did my whole career. And I did it with supplements. I did it with other supplements we were taking at that time. You know, there was only so much knowledge. You know, we didn't have the internet back then. You know, we had to read a desk reference book from a physician to find out. But at that time, I could tell you the pathology report of anything I put into my body. So I wanted to learn what I could use, what I couldn't use, what's effective and what's not. But it's helped me, you know, formulate the products I do today, and help me advance and start the company.
How's it doing right now during this pandemic crap?
So, you know, I'm just I just finished my first year. March of this year was the first month of year 2. First year, I really couldn't, I can't complain. I had a real solid first year. But, you know, I worked for other companies in the past, and I was I primarily had most of my accounts up in the Northeast. So most of my relationships with the retail stores were developed here. You know, so I had those relationships and them allowing me to get my products in and grow it that way, and then kind of organically growing it, creating a domino effect and spreading out. When the pandemic hit in March, I was off to a really great start. But fortunately, you know, during this pandemic, I've been able to get into some states that I wasn't in before, that weren't as backed up with the COVID as some of the states that I'm in right now that are struggling. So I've been systematically, you know, growing in different areas. I'm in a couple different countries right now also. Panama, I'm in the UK, I'm in Colombia. So I've been able to grow out there while I'm still taking a hit up here in the Northeast. But, you know, some of my products are kind of economy proof. Like my fat burner, my sleep product, it's got a lot of anti-anxiety components. And at this time, that's something that people feel like they've needed and they've utilized. Plus my natural test booster. You know, you have guys that are taking gear, taking pro hormones and SARMs. They don't want to lose any of their gains. So they're getting on my test booster. I have an epiandro test booster, and those three products right now have actually carried the weight for me, and I'm still doing all right. I'm making it.
Can you speak to the how you got started with this? I've done some consulting years ago with supplement companies in the early stages where you have to pick a manufacturer that you trust. You go through the process of a formula may sound good on paper as you put it together, knowing the doses that should be there. Then you got to flavor that, you know, some of these certain ingredients at the proper dose that you'd like may be tough to flavor. Can you speak to a little bit about putting this all together before you launch? What went into that to the point where you're happy, where you could reach out to the Northeast stores and say, I have something I'm proud of?
Okay, so when I started, I contacted a bunch of different manufacturers. You know, and in this market, today's day and age, flavoring is most important, but I didn't want to compromise the integrity of my formulas. The formulas, not that it comes easy for me, but I have an eye for it. So these are things that I've worked with, some of the components in the past. There's some new components that I constantly experiment with that I've liked. I've put together these formulas, but then you have to put them together with a manufacturer that could give you the proper pricing. So when you go into retail, you know, you could sell to the end consumer, and your retailer could make money, and the consumer doesn't feel like they're getting ripped off. But I actually went out and I saw it after a guy. He's a top flavor guy in the industry, and he was able to mask, you know, some of my ingredients. The funny thing is, a lot of these ingredients, they're not made to be ingested or put into a powder form in a fruit flavored drink. You know, like in my sleep product, I'm using kava and valerian. I mean, it's fucking disgusting, you know. But he was able to manipulate the flavoring and make it work, and we made it into like a lemon zinger orange tea flavor, nighttime formula. But some, like you said, yeah, some of the components are hard to mask. So it's just trial and error and trying to find the right flavor that you could get over with that one component. In my pump formula, I have a couple components in there that are bitter. It's hard to get over. But I made a zebra stripes flavor. I don't know if you remember fruit stripe gum.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got like 7. Remember, you chew it and the flavor lasts 3 seconds and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So this was something that I put together delicately because I wanted this formula. So we worked on it, we tweaked it, and we made it where it's one of my top sellers. And the flavoring is pretty spot on. But yeah, flavoring's important, you know. But I've also talked to manufacturers that have said to me, well, what if we cut out your methionine and your amino acids? That's really hard to mask. It's too bitter. and we could flavor it this way. And I said, I don't want to compromise the integrity of my products just so it tastes better. There's a million products out there that taste great. You know, look, if you want something that tastes great and is less effective, that's fine, but that's not the market I'm going for. You know, I'm like the Jose's, the me, the you, the people that do. I don't give a shit what it tastes like. Get it in me. I know it works. You know, I want to feel the effects. But I've actually done a very good job with my manufacturing, putting together some really good flavors. So I can't really say flavoring's compromised. Not all of them are perfect, but the effects definitely overcompensate for whatever might be lacking in any flavor in any of the products.
Isn't that what Dorian used to say about his products?
Yeah.
He was like, it tastes like shit, but it works great.
Yeah. And at that time, he might have gotten over that, but now there's so many other companies that are making. See, the thing is, a lot of people out there, okay, coach, what do I do? Tell me what to do. Just tell me what to take, and they do it. There's not a lot of people that really know what ingredients are what and go after and look for them. The people that do, those are the ones that, like the Dorian approach, get it in me, I don't give a shit. Right. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where you have to make it at least enjoyable, especially an amino formula. This is something guys
tolerable. It doesn't have to be enjoyable.
Right. The pump component, the sleep component, you're shooting it down. It's 3 seconds. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Yeah. But the aminos on stuff like that, or my intra-workout formula, those I really took the time to make sure the taste was spot on, because this is stuff people drink all day. And even though I'm going after a certain market, it's a small market. And if I'm going to be successful in this industry, I have to appeal to a broader range.
Do you have a online store, or do you go through a distributor? How's that work?
No, I sell direct to retail stores. I do sell online, but I'm trying to give all the business to retail. What I found out in the industry through the years I was a sales rep was a lot of these stores are struggling. You know, a lot of them are having a hard time competing with Amazon, competing with online pricing. So I wanted to give retailers an incentive to carry my line. They could buy it off my website, but they're going to pay a much higher price on my website than they will if they go into somebody's store. Now, I'm a good 20% overpriced on my website, but I still get website sales from people that are in states that I haven't gotten into yet. But I wanted to, you know, I need support from retailers because I do have a niche products, and I need the consumers to be educated. Like if you want to go on Amazon and buy something, like dude, Jose, like Nate also, you know, us competing, we didn't shop on Amazon. You know, we go after, this is what we need. Where do you get it? Some of the stuff is not Amazon correct, you know, right. or right for Amazon. So it might be a little too edgy. It's not stuff you're going to find in a GNC or a Vitamin Shop. So I rely on my retail support to help me get the brand out there.
Did you get into ANC?
Pardon me?
Yeah, they're at ANC.
Did you get into ANC?
Yeah, Pete does well with my products.
Yeah, I've bought the pre-workout there. I really like it. It's great. I have a little bit left in my cupboard right now.
All right, good.
I was just going to say, so, you know, with that retailer thing, it's always confused me of, say, like Redcon, right, who's one of the bigger companies in the last couple of years. They're in retail, they're in GNCs, Vitamin Shops, the mom and pop stores. Yet they're constantly, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't get a pop-up from Redcon on my phone saying, shop now 50% off the whole store. And it's directly competing with me going to ANC and buying from Peter, because Peter can only sell so much, right? He probably is buying the stuff at 50% off. And I can get it direct from Redcon. So it's interesting that you do that, because I would also think for your product, I first heard about it from Pete. I go in there and I say, hey, Pete, any good pre-workouts? You know, he knows I don't like, I joked in one of the previous podcasts with Santi, I had bought a pre-workout there called Meth, and it just messed me up, right? I don't know who made it or what. So he knows I don't want those. I want something that's quality ingredients. You know, I've got him to carry a couple brands like Matt Porter's line, MPA, sort of along the same thing early on of very high dosed products. And so Pete had recommended your pre-workout to me. I hadn't heard of the company at the time, but you need people like a Peter that can educate the consumer based on what they're looking for. Are they looking for crazy high stim, or are they looking for something that's like probably the best bang for your buck, right? If your product is priced the same as Ghost or whatever other company, people are getting way more for their money buying your product.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, and I hear it from retailers whenever I'm in the stores talking. Oh, Redcon's having a flash sale, and they're doing buy one get 150 off. Plus, you get a free hat and a free shirt and a free reach around and whatever else you get with it. So but that plays into my market. That plays into my demographic. Because if you're spending that much money to get your products out there, chances are the product doesn't have everything in it that it's supposed to have in it for somebody like you, Nate, or me, or Jose, while we were competing for the guys that are up and coming. So that's something that I play to my advantage. Plus, retailers, they have to match pricing. So a lot of them carry it in the store because, look, it draws people in the store. They're a huge name. They're probably one of the biggest companies in the industry right now. Or I apply to a smaller demographic, but those are for the guys, your C4 guys, the guys that are, hey, let's take this and it's fun and, we'll have a great time and we'll go work out a little bit. Like my shit's for people who train, and people who train hard and want effects. But that was something I saw, and I saw it as almost like a crack in the foundation and how to, work a way into a retailer where you're offering good margins. And you don't have to worry about competing with my online or somebody with a promo code or giving away, a free boat, with every purchase or whatever else you get, but it's guys like Pete at ANC or the guys that have been grinding it out for years that people go to their stores. And look, he sells I think he sells the MRE there in the bars, and he does well with it. There is a market for that, but I'm going after a little bit of a different market.
So you're also a show promoter.
Yes.
What is going on this year? You usually in August, right?
I was usually August 1st, and I was asked if I could postpone the show because nobody knew what was going on. So I talked to Sean, who works with Steve Weinberger, and so I bumped the show over to September 12th, I believe. I called my school just to get it out of the August date because they were trying to move some of the other shows up. And then at that point, they already canceled almost half of them, So my school contacted me and they said, listen, we haven't even gotten word if the school's going to be open. And even if it is, they have events that they have to take care of first before they could book outside vendors. So they said, we can't even guarantee your show, the date. So at that point, I was like, you know what? It's not looking good. These shows are very expensive to put on. And I contacted 4 or 5 other schools and nobody would give me a locked confirmation of a date to hold the show. So I had to cancel it for the season. First time in, I believe, 14 years that I've had to do that. I mean, it's something I enjoy, I approach the show also like an athlete. Like we know what it's like to compete, so I make it fun for the athletes. I take care of them backstage. They're everything's under control and they're handled properly. They're treated like athletes. I take pride in that. Yeah. So it hurt to have to put it off till next year.
A lot of people don't understand that. You're not making a killing on these shows. Yeah. It's more effective. You're giving back to the community and giving these guys a platform, and like you said, you make it fun for them. And it's unfortunate what's going on.
On top of that, there's been a wide variety of athletes that have gotten their pro cards that started at my show, right. And have won my show. So, sometimes seeing that raw talent, which I like. I love seeing talent. Yeah. And every once in a while, there's 2 or 3 people that, grace across the stage, like, wow, this guy's going to turn into something, and this girl's going to be something. Yeah. And it's nice to see what happens to them down their career, and that you played some sort of a small part, or you acted as a stepping stone to help catapult them into whatever they do.
So having a show and the competitive career that you had, especially where you were doing a lot of it yourself, like you said, trial and error and figuring out your body. What mistakes do you see bodybuilders, say, competing at your show or guys going to the national level? What mistakes do you see them making that if you were to jump in and coach somebody, you would straighten them out?
So for me, I always approached it as, you're representing yourself up there. And I know guys, and this is probably going to hurt me in bringing athletes in because, you always want to draw competitors. But if you're not going to be at your best, you might not want to show up. I don't want people seeing me unless I'm my best. But there are coaches and there are people we're going to use as a warm-up. get you some
No
stage
such
time,
thing.
right?
If you know bodybuilding, you know there's no such thing as a warm up.
Yeah, like
Hate
that's
that word.
I've watched Jose snap at people in the gym where they come up and say, "Hey, Jose, take a quick look at me. So I got this show coming up in 2 weeks. That's a warm up, and then the show I really want to do a month out from that."
right.
And Jose's like, "Stop, stop, 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 stop. No, like
So,
I don't even use that word around me. Like
right.
you're insulting me by
I
saying that."
think a lot of these gurus and a lot of these coaches have found ways to turn this into an exact business. The more shows you do, the more you're paying them. Like I still work with a couple guys, but I work with a couple guys that are trying to get to pro cards, and I help them out and stuff like that. But they're at a higher level, so they're already past that point. But it's interesting to see. I was never chasing after trophies. Like this is a show I want to win. I'm preparing for it. That's what I'm doing. But like I said, I think a lot of these coaches have found ways to turn this into a bigger business than it should be, and that's why a lot of the shows, it's a lot of the same people, doing the same thing, and they're not really taking the time to make improvements. I know, Jose, you mentioned in one of the podcasts earlier that you were at a point in your career. I think it was my last year with you at the Olympia in 2011, where you only competed twice that year.
Yeah.
But you were at a point where what else are you going to do with your physique? You're maxed out. You only wanted to do 2 shows those year. Maybe you should have done 5, but you didn't need extra time to bring up you were already there. You were one of the best guys in the world at that time, so some of these other guys, they really need to take time and develop and bring up some weak areas. And sometimes you say that to people and they look at you like you have 2 fucking heads. Like, what do you mean take time? Like, I'm not perfect the way I am. No, dude, you're not fucking perfect. So I think it's maybe it's a work ethic thing, but people have to realize that to develop a championship physique, it takes years of training, years of systematically breaking your body down, learning what works for you, trial and error. Look, nobody's going to bring up their whole body in one season. You pick 2 or 3 smaller muscle groups, you pick a bigger muscle group, and you spend time doing that, and you see what you look like on stage, and then you take it a step further the next show. But everybody, it seems like they're in such a rush nowadays, and I think they're taking the more is better approach as opposed to, the path with more resistance, which, they might see competing 4 or 5 times a year. Oh, that's hard. It's hard. No, dude, putting the time in the gym and growing and pounding that food in and getting your calories in and putting on your muscle, that's the hard part.
It's why you see from like our generation, Jay, is all of us competed for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you're seeing the numbers of bodybuilders dropping, because who wants to put in 12 years of hard training before you even get a sniff?
Right.
Now you can be, and I'm not shitting on any other divisions, but you can create a men's physique over the course of 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
You cannot create an Olympia level bodybuilding physique in anything less than 10 years.
Well, in any real sport, look at MMA, look at football, look at wrestling, look at that. It takes years going through your high school ranks and your college ranks, and maybe even developing at a smaller pro level, then going into a pro career. Like some of these top pro athletes, where they get drafted into the NFL, they need 2 or 3. There's always that one guy, that exception of the rule. But I think everybody thinks they're the exception, and they don't want to put the hard work in. Eli Manning, I'm a Giant fan, so it took him years of, what the fuck, what are you doing out there, dude? And then here he blossoms and wins the Super Bowl, but look at Tom Brady all through his college career and through the combine. Like, who would have thought, at that time, who would have thought he would have turned into who he is now, and being the best quarterback ever. Yeah. But it's consistency, it's hard work. And that's what's missing. I think, with all the social media and all the Insta famous and the this and the that, there's a quick, everyone wants to make a quick jump to the finish line, but for me, even in the sports supplement industry, it's going to take me years to progress to be, hopefully a top company, and I'm prepared to do the work I'm prepared to grind it out just like I did in my bodybuilding career. And, you know, we'll find a way to get there.
Do you get as aggravated as I do with the terminology nowadays? Like refeed and cheat meal, cheat day.
We're gonna have a cheat meal.
Deload.
We're gonna like, what the fuck is a refeed? You're eating.
Right.
And
Well, what's the other one after the diet?
Rebound.
Re-diet, or I don't even understand what they're saying. I'm like, no, you're gonna have a high calorie day. You're gonna chill out on the cardio. You're gonna add to. I don't understand all this terminology. It's not.
I understand the theory behind it. And the theory behind it is they want to seem like they're recreating the wheel.
Right.
You know, where they're not. They're using different terminology to make them more relevant. But at the end of the day, if you're not putting that hard work in, if you're not grueling, and I've seen some of these guys train, like, holy shit, like, what do you think you're doing? Like, where do you think you're going to go? You know, like, they're more into the refeed than they are to beating themselves up in the gym. We used to throw up training shoulders, you know, like,
right.
It was grueling. You know, we trained with a purpose, and you don't see a lot of that anymore, you know.
But now they're working out instead of training.
That's it.
The difference.
I didn't have a phone in the gym with me. Yeah. My phone was well, I didn't even have a phone until later on in my career. They weren't even around, you know. But even when they were, it was in my fucking locker where it belonged. You know, that's my training time. And the videoing, and I do it now for social media, for the company. Yeah. But if this was in my career, I don't want you filming me during my workout. It's a fucking distraction.
Right.
Am I preparing for the set, or am I preparing for the camera? Because it's different. Right. It's completely. We did our photo shoots after the shows.
Right.
We'd all fly out to California, go to Gold's in Venice, and we do our photo shoots out there. Or at the time when Steve's gym got popular, we stayed on the East Coast, you know, and we did it out here at Bev's place, you know, or Diamond Gym where I came from, you know. So, but now every day is a photo shoot, you know, and to me, it's a big distraction, and that's okay. You know, that's okay if that's what they're looking to do. But in terms of developing a championship physique, like, there's a reason we don't see top NFL players practicing all day or what they're doing. You know, they don't want you to see what they're doing. Right. You know, everybody's documenting their fucking meal. This is what I ate today. This is what I did. You know, this is what I took this morning. Like, holy shit. Like, I don't care. But right. What are you going to do?
I couldn't even train with headphones. I couldn't. I see people doing that. Remember, the wires are everywhere. Like, yeah. I could never. I had to focus on, you know, and pray that I could get that dumbbell up to here so I could do that set. If I had wires and headphones or the big earmuffs, whatever, I couldn't even. I end up drowning out the music in the gym. Yeah, like, it's just craziness, the stuff you see today. Yeah, a kid who's been working out for a week, he's already filming his workouts because that's what he thinks working out is. You got to film it.
And he's teaching others.
Oh, they're all coaches.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They're special.
Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of the prep coach business of, you know, every Tom, Dick, and Harry now is a prep coach. You win your local show, you're now ready to take on coaching people. And the people that, you know, my girlfriend's had a couple online coaches in the past before she started working with Jose. There was we're doing a 30-week prep going into your show, right? And then after your show, we need to rebound and bring your calories up the right way so we don't mess with your hormones. And so that one show ends up being like a 42-week prep. You know, it's the whole year. So you really drag out, you know, while the monthly fee might seem reasonable for whatever they're charging, the idea of working with them locks you in for most of a year for a whole show.
Seasonal training just doesn't seem to be paying the bills anymore.
Right,
so
right.
Now it's turned into annual training.
And it's like what Aceto said the other day of, you know, now I feel like there's a need for coaches to have the secret sauce. Right. You know, the FST7, the Y3T, the, you know, Aceto's like the hot stock tip, you know, like the get rich quick thing. So everybody has to brand themselves of, I'm doing something with my athletes that nobody knows about, that nobody's doing. And the guys like both of you guys that have lived this, you find out that it's chicken and rice all day. It's eggs and oatmeal. It's hard training sessions. You know, like there's there really is no magic other than being consistent and putting in the time, which is more than a year. Like nowadays you see through Instagram, through prep coaches, through like a Kenny Wallach posing thing of here's how many pros I have. Just turn this guy pro, first year of competing, right? Because of social media, we see the outliers of these people that are just rocket ships, right up, get a pro card. So a guy like me that's like, man, I've been doing this for 2 years. Why don't I have my pro card yet? This sucks, you know? And Jose sent me your competing history the other day, and I see year after year of going to the national. How many years did you compete as an amateur before you turned pro?
So I competed in the AAU when I was 16 years old. You know, I was still in high school. You know, but I saw, you know, I liked bodybuilding. I saw an angle there. I was still wrestling and playing football, but I kind of took an interest in bodybuilding. But when I graduated, I spent 2 years going to county college, and I wanted to start my bodybuilding career. So 19 is when I, you know, went into the NPC, won the Teenage Mr. New Jersey, won the Teenage Muscle Mania, and then I went into the Jersey State. See, at that time also, you know, you took your time. You know, you developed. You know, nowadays everybody, they win a regional show where they place third and nationally.
Got to go to nationals.
And they're ready for the universe or the national, like the fucking nationals. Like, holy shit, really? Like Jose, you said, like there's only a few people. So at my time, it was you make your name at the regional level, then you do a junior level national show. I did the Junior USA 1 year. My first year, I took third. I was like, okay, I got something going here. I came back the following year, did the Junior Nationals, and took second in Washington, D.C., which was a huge year. And I was like, you know, let me give the Nationals a shot. If I get blown out of the water, hey, I know I need some time, and I'll do it again in a couple years. But if I could make a name for myself, you know, we'll see what happens. But I was able to take fourth. And look, you know, it's funny too. There's a huge difference, you know. Back then, and Jose, you were, you know, you're just hoping to make the call out, you know, like when you get to a national show. Like there was just a different sense of humility. You know,
well, there's 35 guys in your class too.
35 guys in the class, and you're looking at everybody backstage, and you know we all know we look good by ourselves in the gym when somebody's giving us constructive criticism. Well, you don't know what you look like that exact moment under those lights when you're dehydrated next to these guys that everybody looks good backstage, you know. So you're like, fuck, I hope I make the top 15 at my first national show. I was just hoping to make the top 15. Then you get called in the top 15. They're like, you develop a little sense of security, and you say, dude, if I could be in the first call out, like, holy shit, I got the first call out. I was able to take fourth place in my first national show. So then I knew, all right, so I got something I could work with here, you know. So I did 4 nationals. I took fourth. The year after that, I dropped down to 7th. Dexter and I did it the same year. He was 6th and I was 7th. It was a weird year. It was a weird year. But then I jumped over to the USAs, and I won the light heavies of the USA in 97, went back to the nationals in 97 and took third in the light heavyweight class. And then the next year, it's when I moved up to heavyweights and won the USAs and the nationals in the same year. So I had done 4 nationals, 2 USAs, and 2 junior level national shows. So 4, 5, 6, so 8 national shows, and 6 of them were pro qualifiers. So it took me time. You know, it took me time to develop and to get there.
Did Dennis James win the USA that year?
He won in 98. And in 97, when I won the light heavies, the funny thing is I thought I had the overall. And actually, a lot of people did too. They already did the interview with me as the winner because they were sure of it. But the heavyweight beat me in the overall.
Who was that?
Ken Brown out of Pennsylvania.
No shit.
Yeah, it's a weird call, but whatever. You know, I'm happy with how I turned pro. Yeah. But the next year at the USA, I won the heavies. Dennis James won the super heavies, and dude, he was a freak that year.
Yeah, I was there that year.
Yeah, I knew like, fuck, I ain't beating this guy, dude. He's got it together. But that was a stacked show also. And so you know, you pay your dues, and you take your time, and you have to be realistic with yourself. You know, if you could do that and make slow, steady progress, a lot of these guys will, you know, they'll find their way.
Who was in the overall with you at the Nationals that year when you won?
Orville Burke, Kevin English.
Yeah.
Wow. It was a tough, dude. It was huge. There was 181 competitors in the nationals that year that I won in '98, and I believe in the heavyweight class I had almost 30 competitors.
So how did that feel? You beat Kevin in the overall,
Yeah.
then you go over to the 202, and he ends up beating you.
That stung. That's definitely stung.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was a middleweight. You know, he turned pro as a middleweight. So
he put on 30 pounds or something.
But beating Orville Burke at the overall, I mean, he was 255 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was a little over 200, you know, as a heavyweight. So that was a thrill. That was definitely a thrill. But yeah, so I saw Kevin's progression and a lot of other guys. You know, and you started out as a lightweight, or were you even a
lightweight?
Lightweight, okay.
Yeah.
And then you progressed, and you know, we all got to the same point. You know.
Yeah, I put on over 50 pounds in my career.
Yeah. And you had years where you could have made a run. I think you held yourself back to try to get there. You know.
Yeah, I gave up 3 pro cards.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So I could progress slowly.
Yeah.
I was just too small.
Well, and if it was this time, you know, nobody would turn down a pro card, but it
Not a
takes
chance.
no way, dude. No way.
Put it on my Instagram, IFBB Pro, forget about it. That's why I say that record will never be broken. No one will ever, because the minute they win, they're going to take it.
Right.
Whether they're ready or not.
Yeah, so that was the thing, you know, at least when I was able to get my pro card as a heavyweight, I was like, all right, I feel confident doing my first pro show. You know, so there's a certain level of confidence you gain, you know, when you do it properly. And you too, when you went into the pro, you know, what year did you turn pro?
07.
07. So the next year they had the 202-pound class, and
right.
you were in the 209, 2009.
Yeah, so I broke my leg and I had to take a year off.
Right.
And then I came back in 2009.
Yeah. So I had already been a pro 10 years.
Right.
You know, so I mean, I was hoping, man, if they had this 202 4 or 5 years earlier, you know, yeah, it would have been good for me, you know. But hey, look, but there's guys, you know, when I turned pro and even before I turned pro, that were fantastic bodybuilders and just never got seen, never got an opportunity because they were just outclassed in that lineup. Yeah. You know, so I was fortunate to be a part of that, and I'm glad it came when it did. Because it helped, you know, it opened up a whole new window for me of opportunity. You know,
how would Francois Benfato have done in the 202?
He would have done well. Classic
Steve Brisbois. You know, there were a lot of good smaller bodybuilders back then. Yeah. They were competitive.
Yeah. Bertil Fox.
Yeah. Was he smaller?
He was little. He was, I think he was under 200 pounds.
Oh, he looked like he was 250.
He was thick. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on it moving to 212 versus 202? Like if you were all of a sudden the head of IFBB, would you keep it at 212 or would you lower it down to 202?
I'd bring it back down to 202.
I agree.
Yeah, I think, you know, and that was my last year. So in 2012 or 2011, that was my last Olympia. I wanted 2012 to be my last year. That's when I wanted to retire at 40. But my second daughter was born. My wife and I just bought a house. I got involved with another company. There was a lot going on. So I'm like, all right, I'll take 2012 off. And that's when they introduced the 212-pound class. So that kind of I was like, you know what? I just spent the last 4 years at the Olympia not having to take all the stuff I take in the off season. You know, now I'm getting older. You know, you're worried about your health. Do I really want to take the chances? So I did that last year in 2013, which it was horrible for me. I barely prepped for it. I was clean almost all of 2012 just to clean my blood out and feel healthy. And I kind of did it as a farewell to the sport. But when they did that, I thought that was my chance to say goodbye, because I don't think 10 pounds on my physique would have helped me. You know, I think it would have distorted me, and to take the kind of stuff I would have had to take again to put that 10 pounds on, the reward just wasn't worth the risk. So that's why I opted. I retired when I did. And Jose, I think you even look better in the 202s. You know, a lot of because it was this. Look, nothing changed. All the placings were the same.
Right.
It was the same guys, just 10 pounds heavier. And because we're shorter, you know, we don't wear those 10 pounds well on stage. You know, we look better lighter. We were supposed to be. We had more of a classic physique look, which I think that's why the classic physique division is doing well now, because that's what's missing. They turned the 202s into 212s, which made people look like short bodybuilders, which we were, you know, and it was time for that. But I think if they bumped it back down, I think they should have 3 classes in the pros. I think they should do, you know, up to 200 pounds or maybe even 190, 195, like the top of a light heavyweight class. Do a heavy and a super. You know, you have 3 classes. You could balance it out that way. Now you have all different areas of people. You know, look, in the amateur ranks, you have 7 classes, right? 5 of them are under 200 pounds. That's your market. You know, those are people that are going to come and pay tickets to see the show. Those are your athletes. The majority of your athletes are light heavyweights, middleweights, smaller heavyweights. Why not appeal to that demographic? So if you keep it 198, you still get the smaller guys. Your Sean Claritas, like these guys would dominate those classes. I mean, he's dominating now. Yeah. But even at that time, and then you have your guys that are a little bit over, that maybe, you know, 5'7", that could carry 220 pounds better than we could. And then you have your open guys that are over, your super heavyweight guys. So I think that would be a better balancing act for the pro division in the IFBB. But, you know, we'll see. I mean, obviously I think they need to do something to help bring it back. But I think helping to create a more streamlined look and giving the guys some incentive to not distort their physiques and keep themselves presentable. Where, look, you look freaky, but it's still attainable. You still have to build that market. These guys need to see a physique and say, that's what I want to look like. I can aspire to do that. It's not impossible. It's still going to take years of training, but it gives people more hope, you know, and something more realistic to train for.
I think 212 is too big because you're seeing guys like Hadi Choopan. He is a 212 guy, yet he was 3rd in the Olympia and arguably could have won.
Right.
You know, you had a William Bonac that went right from 212 to the top 5 at the Olympia.
Yeah.
I did 2 open shows, and I was first call out in both of them.
Yeah.
So, you know, 212 is it's not much of a gap from a guy who's 5'5", 212, 210 to a guy who's 5'7", 240.
Right.
It's not the size difference isn't there. It's just height difference.
Yeah.
But when you have 202, that's a better gap. You know, you're not really going to have a 202 guy go and win an open show.
Right.
I think they should go back to 202. I think they never should have changed it. I think I would have had a lot more wins if I was able to stay at 202.
Yeah.
You know, you had guys like Flex Lewis that's a few inches taller than me, and he needed that extra 10 pounds. So it did well for him. It didn't do anything for me.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't have helped me either, you know, but he's on a different level. He could carry it. I'm interested to see how he does in the Open this year.
I think he can win.
Yeah, I think so too.
Why not?
It's open for anybody. I mean, it's anybody's show.
So before we let you go, I know you're a busy man. I wanted to touch on some of the similarities you and I have, other than our good looks.
Good looks.
Yeah. One of them was my sister-in-law. It was your first cover, right?
Yeah. Actually, I think we got 2. We got 2 out of that photo shoot.
Really?
Well, dude, Amy was, you know, she was a gem. She was it. So when I heard I was doing a photo shoot with Amy Fadhli, I was like,
how exciting was that?
Well, that was my first national show. I took 4th at the Nationals. I flew out to California, shot with Irvin Gelb for the week, a few other photographers. We did the shoot in Malibu on the beach, and we ended up getting, I believe, 2 covers out of it. But
is that Zuma Beach in Malibu?
I'm not. I don't remember what beach, but I know it was Malibu.
So that's the same beach my brother met her at.
No kidding.
And their second son, his name is Zuma.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny.
But yeah, she was the star of the industry.
Oh, man, I had posters of her on my wall in college, in my dorm rooms. And then
saying that to
a
your
year later, I meet her.
your sister-in-law now, and
Yeah. So me and Tito met her the same day.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm like putting jabs in. I'm like, he's like, what are you doing? Get the fuck out of here. I'm like, no, I think I got a chance. And she's looking at me like, yeah, you got a chance, pal.
Yeah.
And it was so funny.
Yeah.
She's the best. She's such a good person. Good
Yeah,
mom.
look, we had a great photo shoot, and I think I didn't know her, and a lot of people didn't know me at the time. I was a guy from the East Coast coming out there, so I think she might have even thought like, "Who's this guy?" And she's like, "Hey, listen, I said, "Listen, I'm new at this. This is professional to me. I'm happy to be shooting with you. I think you're a superstar, and we made the best of it." But she handled herself well, dude. Like you would expect. She was classy. She was a classy girl.
So another thing similar. I don't know if you ever knew this, but so obviously I was there at your last Olympia, and you went out to a great song, "My Way" by Sinatra.
Yeah.
So I was preparing. I had made the announcement that it was going to be my last Olympia, 2018, and I was talking to Peter McGuff, and he's like, "You got to go out to My Way," and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, Jay already did that. I'm like,
yeah.
All right. So I end up mixing two songs, and I end up putting that in.
Right.
And so we both used the same song at our last Olympia.
Well, it's a staple for us.
Right?
Yeah. Great song.
Yeah.
My daughters didn't like it.
She didn't like it?
Want to hear something funny?
She didn't like yours or mine?
Mine, my daughters. Well, here's the weird thing is that I don't have any of my trophies.
Neither do I.
Or covers of.
You wouldn't know a bodybuilder lives in my house.
They're in my basement, in my sump pump room. So I don't wear that well. For some reason, I still have the 4 discs, the CD discs of all the 4 202-pound Olympias I was in.
Yeah.
I just played them about a month and a half ago for my daughters for them to see them.
Wow.
They were still sealed. I never even opened them before.
Wow.
So I played the one for my daughter, my last one, and she said, I don't like the song My Way. But it was, just like you said, it had meaning, and just like everything we do, dude, everything has a purpose. Our training has a purpose. Our philosophies have a purpose. My company now, my products have a purpose. And that song for me at the time, it represented what I thought, was pretty much the pathway of my career, and struggles and uphill battles and stuff that, we all go through, that we have to learn to deal with, and obstacles and injuries and stuff that comes along the way. But yeah, that was a great year. And I think it was probably one of my better showings at the Olympia. So I was
you were shredded.
Yeah, I was proud to go out like that. And the funny thing is, I couldn't really watch any shows after I retired. I saw a few of yours. Dude, as soon as I wanted you to win everything, as soon as we weren't competing together, because we always had, an interesting connection together.
Yeah.
I always thought you were unique, and you were a good guy. You're a good guy. And
Appreciate that.
there's not a lot of them. So I was always pulling for you. I would always text you, dude, congratulations, you look great.
Yeah.
But it was hard for a while to really, that's why I was going to ask you how you're handling it, because you go from competing at the top level, dude, at the highest level of our sport, to stopping completely.
Yeah.
And it's got to take its toll. I struggled with it where I didn't really want to, I just wanted to go in a different direction, and then the supplement company and this and that, and put my efforts into my work and the promoting the shows and everything else, so I don't know if it was something that you struggled with, or even training, like not training for a purpose anymore, just going to the gym to work out, not improve anything, like if that was something that you felt the same way I did about.
Absolutely. I might even be to a worse degree, because, you have a family, children to focus on, where I stopped like that. I went from competing at the highest level, being a star in the bodybuilding world, to I didn't post on social media. This is only, if it wasn't for Nate, he kind of inspired me to get back and start doing this podcast. And because I did nothing. I didn't post a thing on YouTube for over a year.
Yeah.
And it was a sort of depression where like you said, there's no goal, there's no light at the end of the tunnel for me to train that way. And, you know, experiencing some pain too, because I wasn't training that way. You know, when you're all yoked up,
Yeah.
you're not feeling that pain. As soon as things start softening up and loosening up, I'm like, whoa, my shoulders are killing me. You know, I had a hip replacement. I got to get the other one done. I'm just now getting in the groove again with Nate, training on a semi-regular basis where I'm getting out of that funk. I'm having a new goal. And, you know, I haven't completely thrown out the idea of, I don't know about competing, but setting a 4-month period of time where I can see what I can do with my body.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'll get in shape. Otherwise, I'm a happy fat guy.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I still think I'm too young to be a happy fat guy. You know?
It's a tough balancing act.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting out of the funk. I mean, it took about a year of, I still trained, but not regularly.
Right.
I wasn't on top of my diet. I wasn't, you know, I had nothing to share. People are like, when are you going to get back on YouTube? When are you going to get back on social media? I'm like, what do you want me to tell you? I'm just doing nothing, drinking beers and getting fat. I'm like, I don't have a whole lot to share.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is, Nate has been a big inspiration to me because he's a few years younger. He's at the point where he's at his peak. You know, he's not 26. To me, the peak is 38, 39, 40,
Yeah.
you know, where I get excited seeing the improvements he's making.
Right.
And we're like the exact same weight and the exact same strength right now, which is mind-boggling to me because I used to smoke them. and you know, we're having fun though, and we're having fun with this podcast, getting great guys on, and seeing what you're up to.
If I may, Nate, and this is a compliment to you. You guys are a good blend. You balance each other out. You know, Jose's got the experience. Nate, you add a certain substance to this pod. When I saw your podcast, but I had to watch it because it was you. You know what I mean? But then you catch on. I watched all your episodes, like while I was driving. You know, like I had it on. You know,
Thank you.
But I think this is great for you. You know, I think you guys work very well together. It's a good. It's almost a good perfect combination of similar but different personalities that balance each other out. Right. You know, you have the experience. Nate is up and coming. He's right at the brink of it. You know, and I wish you guys the best success. You know, but I enjoy the time I spend listening to your. That's why I was happy when you asked me to come on. I was like, this is right up my alley. You know, this is great.
Good. I'm glad you came on. I really appreciate it, and we wish you continued success. If there's anything we can do to help, we're going to put links for you, and we'll put some pictures up. Just let us know if there's any particular photos you want to use or anything. We'll put them in so when the video's playing, people will see it, and they'll be able to find you.
Gotcha. I'll send you a couple, and I'll send you my Instagram and Facebook feeds or links or whatever it is. And,
okay, awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll add, you know, having bought your pre-workout multiple times from A&C, it's a really good product. And I'm picky. I'm you know, kind of like you. I've delved into what the ingredients are, and I'm sensitive to how it should feel to crash. And your pre-workout had no crash. It was something that I would take even like a half a scoop in the morning to just start my day because it was like a feel-good energy.
Yeah.
You know, not a whole scoop like I would pre-workout, but I found myself using it as just a little pick-me-up throughout the day because of the sustained energy. It tasted good. It felt good. There was never an over-stimmed feeling to it. So it really, really well put together. I don't know if that's one of your better sellers, but it's a product I'd recommend for, you know, our listeners out there. Definitely worth trying.
Thank you. But for guys that are into performance and training efficiently, it's a great seller. But again, you're competing against some guys that want the meth and want which I never thought. Look, I like getting amped up before I train also, but some of these guys, they take it a little too far where they do it and they want to feel like cracked out all day. Mine was more for a purpose. I want to make you your best during your training, and then I want it to settle down, get your body back in a state of homeostasis where you can eat throughout the day, where you can rest properly and be efficient at night. I have a sleep up in my pump product. I could send you some samples, or I'll send you a bottle if you want to try the pump product. But dude, that's a non-stim. But they're for what we want to do. This is the stuff that you would, if you tried to make something that would fit your demographics for competing or training, where you could get the best workout you can in at that time, and then spend the rest of the day getting your meals in, recovering, so you recoup for the next day. This is what you do.
Well, that's one thing I realized watching other bodybuilders, just being a big fan of this sport and watching and learning. None of these guys are taking these cracked out stim pre-workouts of these pros. The guys, I remember Luke saying when with Redcon, he wouldn't even take their pre-workout. He's like, that's like once in a blue moon if I didn't get a good night's sleep. Otherwise, I might take a cup of coffee. I eat a good meal before. It's like anything else is a distraction.
That's what I said. Yeah. Remember that story I told you about taking the too much of the Legend Pro from Jay?
Oh, yeah?
With Santi.
Hours. I had to lay in a bathtub. I was freezing and sweating at the same time.
Yeah, that's stuff that's high in Yohimbe and some of these other stimulants that what it does is they attack your central nervous system. They get you so stimmed up, which is actually counterproductive, because when your central nervous system goes into overload, your body goes into survival mode and it starts breaking down protein tissue for energy. So that's stuff you really want to avoid during training. You want to get the proper amount of stim, which I like, because I like hitting the weights hard and being efficient in the gym. But when you're done, you still don't want to feel those effects. You need to get on with your day, So that's how I created them.
You have like a vasodilator in your pump product?
I have 7 different pump components and I'm using a couple. That's the thing also. I have a couple ingredients that not many people have even heard of. I have the, your basic citrulline, glycerol, agmatine sulfate. I'm using pine bark extract, which is an anti-cancer medication, but it volumizes your red blood cells and helps blood flow. So it expands your red blood cells. The pump you get from it is pretty amazing. I'm using a bioflavonoid called mentoflavone. It enriches the calcium levels in your muscle cells so they contract stronger. I have sodium and potassium with nitrates in there. It's a 7-blend complex, which gives 7 different pathways of delivering blood flow.
I'm a big fan of the flavonoids. So is there a way I can use that before sexy time?
You can. You actually can. It's like a Viagra for your whole body.
Oh, that's great. Great. We're gonna try that. So when we get off here, I'm gonna text you my address.
I'll send you some up.
Yeah, and we'll do a little review on it. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
You like sleep products?
I will if you send it. I'll try. I have never taken them. I'll try it.
I'm going to send you guys a bottle of my Dream Chaser. It's got anti-anxiety components, natural growth hormone and IGF releasers. It helps stabilize your hormone levels. But I'm using, you ever take kava?
No.
So kava is derived from this fruit that these guys on these islands, they used to eat. And if you eat enough of it, it gives you this euphoric feeling.
Really?
So you feel tipsy. You have to do it on an empty stomach to get the full effects, because super high doses of kava do have toxicity levels. So it could be damaging to your liver. So I don't want to do a high dose of kava. But when I created Dream Chaser, I used to use GHB in my day. That was the time when, like you want to sleep like a rock for 5 or 6 hours, get up and hit the gym. So when I put this product together, I wanted to emulate the effects. So I wanted a feeling of euphoria, which kind of just takes the edge off before the end of the night, before you go to sleep. And then I have my valerian, 5-HTP, tryptophan, L-Dopa. I have magnolia bark, which is another anti-cancer medication. It promotes restful sleep and anti-anxiety. So I have a ton of different anti-anxiety components that kick in while you're feeling the euphoria. Plus I have a super high dose of GABA, which lowers your brain activity for guys that wake up in the middle of the night and their minds are racing and they can't go back to sleep. So it actually allows your brain to recover and sleep and repair during the night, so you wake up feeling refreshed. And just like there's no crash in the pre-workout, you wake up no grogginess, you're ready to go, you're ready to train or go to work or whatever you're doing throughout the day. I'll send you some of that too.
Is that all one product, or is that a couple that you stack together before bed?
Well, no, that's all in one. The Dream Chaser has all those components in one.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll like that.
And how's that taste?
That's the one that has it's a lemon orange zinger tea. I like it. I have like an 80% success rate with that flavor.
Okay.
But two of the components, you can't get around them. The valerian and the kava, they just don't taste good. So by adding the lemon zinger to it, it kind of masks it. But I like it. I think it tastes good. But you
can
drink
2 scoops. Will I get a little
Oh,
buzz?
no, 1 scoop, dude.
Oh. All right, just one.
Jose never learned from that time where he took the Cutler Pre. He's like, let me just take 3 scoops here.
So can you take it with GHB?
No. Instead of GHB.
That's illegal now, right?
Yeah, but in my time, dude, they used to sell it in the vitamin stores. It used to be
a GNC in that big bottle. Looked like fruit punch.
Yeah, Invigorate or Revitalize. You know, before these kids started ruining it, you know, going to clubs and slipping.
Well, they were dying.
Yeah, and they were raping girls on it and ruining our performance enhancers, you know, for the athletically inclined.
Well, that's what happens with everything, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, Jay, thanks so much, brother, and we'll look forward to talking to you again after we get this. We'll do it. We'll review it, and we'll have you come back on so we can discuss it with you.
That'd be awesome. Hey, thank you very much, Jose. Dude, it's been a pleasure. Love you guys. Thank you.
Brother. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.